The rain was drumming against the window of our living room, a rhythmic, relentless sound that made the house feel like an island in the middle of a dark sea. It was 9 p.m. on a Friday. My parents had left 3 hours ago for their anniversary weekend getaway, leaving the house unusually still. Usually, I loved the silence. But tonight, the silence felt heavy, thick with something I couldn't quite name. I was sitting on the edge of the velvet sofa, scrolling through my phone, when I heard the heavy thud of boots on the stairs. It was Leo, my stepbrother. Dear listeners, before I begin telling this complicated story of my life, I ask you to support my channel. Subscribe, leave a like, and write the comment which city you are listening from. This is very important for us, and now enjoy listening. We had lived under the same roof for 3 years, yet we were like two planets orbiting the same sun but never touching. He was older, brooding, and spent most of his time in the garage. But tonight, he didn't go to the garage. He walked straight into the living room, a blur of gray cotton and the faint scent of cedarwood. "The house is too quiet," he said, his voice deeper than usual. "Want to watch a movie?" I looked up, caught off guard by the intensity in his eyes. I nodded slowly. "Sure, Leo. Just a movie." We picked a thriller, something with a lot of shadows and a haunting soundtrack. As the opening credits rolled, Leo sat on the other end of the long sofa. But as the minutes ticked by, the space between us seemed to shrink. It wasn't that he moved. It was as if the gravity of the room was pulling us toward the center. Every time the house creaked or the wind howled, I felt a jolt of electricity. I reached for the bowl of popcorn at the exact moment he did. Our fingers brushed just a second of contact, but it felt like a physical shock. I pulled my hand back quickly, my heart hammering against my ribs. "Sorry," I whispered. He didn't say anything. He just looked at me, the blue light from the television reflecting in his dark pupils. He didn't look away for a long time. The movie was playing. People were screaming on the screen, but all I could hear was the sound of Leo's steady, heavy breathing. I began to realize that he wasn't watching the movie at all. He was watching me. By the halfway point of the film, the air in the room felt like it was charged with a high-voltage current. My skin felt sensitive, every hair on my arm standing up. I tried to focus on the plot, but my mind was spinning. Why was he being so different tonight? Usually, we barely exchanged 10 words. Now, I could feel the heat radiating off his body. "Do you ever feel like you're trapped?" Leo suddenly asked, his voice cutting through the cinematic music. I turned to him, startled. "Trapped? What do you mean?" He leaned back, his arm draping across the back of the sofa, fingers inches from my hair. "Trapped by expectations. Trapped by names. Stepbrother. Stepsister. Labels that tell you how to feel before you even get a chance to feel anything at all." I couldn't breathe. The confession was starting, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for it. I felt a strange mix of fear and an undeniable magnetic pull. I told him I understood, that I felt the weight of those labels every day. He moved closer then, his shoulder finally touching mine. The warmth was overwhelming. The final rebuttal of the screen in total silence. Neither of us moved to get the remote. The room was pitch black except for the white text scrolling by. "I stayed tonight for a reason," Leo whispered, his voice cracking slightly. He reached out and took my hand, his grip firm and desperate. "I've spent 3 years trying to be the person I'm supposed to be. I've spent 3 years looking at the floor whenever you walk into a room because I knew if I looked at you for too long, I wouldn't be able to stop. He confessed everything. He told me about the nights he sat in the garage just to avoid being near me, because the pull was too strong. He told me about the secret he'd been carrying, that he had loved me from the very first month, and that every day since had been a battle between his heart and his head. My heart was racing so fast I thought it might burst. I looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't see my stepbrother. I saw a man who was drowning and looking at me like I was the only thing that could save him. The aftermath that followed was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. We were standing on the edge of a cliff, and we both knew there was no going back. The heart story wasn't just about a movie night. It was about the moment two people decided to stop lying to themselves. As the rain finally began to let up outside, the world felt different. The house was still quiet, but it wasn't a heavy silence anymore. It was a secret silence, one that belonged only to us. We knew that when our parents returned, we would have to put our masks back on. But in the dark of that living room, the truth had finally been set free. Some stories don't have an ending, they just have a beginning that changes everything. If you like video, please subscribe my channel and like the video.